All right, welcome. Today we're jumping right into the 23rd chapter of the Quran, Surah Al Mu, which translates to the believers. And this is such a powerful chapter because it really lays out a kind of roadmap for what faith, purpose, and real, lasting success actually look like.
So, right off the bat, the chapter asks this huge, fundamental question. What does it actually mean to be a believer? But it doesn't just ask the question and leave you hanging. No, it gives a super detailed answer, drawing this straight line that connects our character to our beliefs and finally to the ultimate outcome. So, let's see how it all unfolds. The surah kicks off with a bang. It doesn't start with a command, like do this or don't do that. Instead, it just makes this powerful declaration. The believers have definitely succeeded. Okay, so who are these people? Well, the very next verses start to paint this really clear and vivid picture for us. And what's so amazing about this list is just how complete it is. It's not just about one single thing. It starts on the inside with something deeply personal, sincere, humble prayer. The Arabic word here, khashi'un, isn't just about going through the motions. It implies this state of total focus and awe. But then, boom, it immediately moves outward into our actions, how we talk to people, our responsibility to the community through charity, our personal integrity, and whether we're someone who actually keeps their word. And get this, the whole list starts and ends with prayer. It's like prayer is the bookends, holding everything else together, the absolute foundation for it all. And right after defining who these people are, we get the payoff, the so what, and it's huge. For anyone who builds these qualities into their life, the promise isn't something temporary. It's a permanent inheritance, the ultimate reward of paradise, forever. So right from the very beginning, there's no mystery. The path is here and the destination is right there. It connects all the dots for you. Okay, so we've seen who the believers are, but how does the surah build the case for faith? Well, it does something really clever. After looking inward at our character, it tells us to look outward at the evidence all around us. And not just out there in the universe, but right inside our own bodies too. This part is just incredible. The text literally walks us through the stages of how we're made. From a simple essence of clay, to a drop of fluid, to this little clinging thing that becomes a lump of tissue, then bones start to form and flesh covers those bones until finally a whole new creation, a person. And the point it's making is so powerful. It's basically saying, look, if this unbelievably complex process can happen the first time, why is it so hard for you to believe we can be brought back to life again? And then the perspective just pulls way, way back. We go from looking inside the womb to looking up at the sky. It tells us to think about the heavens, about the rain that brings everything to life, about the food we eat, dates, grapes, even olives from a special blessed tree. And it doesn't stop there. It even points to the cattle we raise, saying, hey, there are lessons for you in there too. Every single one of these things is presented as a sign, like a clue, pointing to a creator who is purposeful, powerful, and incredibly merciful. So we've had the signs in ourselves and the signs in the universe. Now the source shifts gears again. It moves from the evidence in nature to the evidence in human history. And the point here is to show that this message, it's not some new idea. It's a story that has played out over and over and over again. And the main example it uses to show us this pattern is the story of Noah. You can think of it as the template, the classic case study. It lays out this really clear cycle that we're supposed to pick up on. 1, a message comes from God. 2, people reject it in a very specific way. And 3, that rejection has very real consequences. And the message itself, it's always so incredibly simple and consistent. It just boils down to this. Hey everyone, worship God. He's the only one. That's it. That was Noah's message. And as we'll see, it was the same message every single prophet brought to their people. Okay, so what about the rejection? Well, that's just as predictable. And what's really interesting is that the powerful people in the community, they don't usually argue about the theology first. No, they go after the person delivering the message. They say things like, who's this guy? He's just a regular person like us. He's just trying to get famous or take over. They even argue, come on, if God was going to send a message, he'd send an angel, not some dude we know. And the surah makes it crystal clear that this wasn't just a one-time thing with Noah. By briefly bringing up other prophets, like Moses and Aaron, it drives the point home. This dynamic, a pure divine message met with this very human, very arrogant rejection, is a core lesson from all of human history. And then the whole vibe of the chapter changes dramatically. It goes from telling these historical stories to something that feels like a courtroom cross-examination.
It becomes this super direct, fast-paced, logical argument aimed right at those who are denying the core message, especially the idea of resurrection. So it starts firing off these questions, and the first one is a softball, but it's a brilliant setup. It asks, okay, let's start simple. Who does the earth and everything on it belong to, if you really know? It's almost like it's setting a trap because there's only one logical way to answer that.
And just as the text expects, they have to say it belongs to Allah. Boom! Right there, the argument has its first building block. By getting them to admit that, it's established a shared starting point.
And as soon as they agree on that, the next question just blows the scale wide open. It goes from the earth to the entire cosmos, asking, all right, then who is the Lord of the seven heavens and the Lord of the great throne? You can really feel the pressure mounting here. And of course, what else can they say? They have to give the same answer to Allah. And this right here is the heart of the argument. The surah is pointing out this massive contradiction. It's like it's saying, you admit he's in charge of the entire cosmos, but you won't listen to what he has to say about how to live your life down here?
And then comes the final question, the knockout punch. In whose hand is total control over everything? Who is the one that can protect you when no one can protect you from him? This one goes straight to the core idea of absolute ultimate power. And again, everyone knows what the answer has to be.
So let's just recap. The surah has defined the believer, shown us the evidence in creation, taught us lessons from history, and just won this intense logical debate. So what's left? Well, it's time for the final act, the consequences, the ultimate reckoning of it all.
And the way it describes this final outcome is with this powerful image of a scale. On the day of judgment, everything is weighed. For those people whose scale of good deeds is heavy, well, they are the successful ones. They are the ones who get to inherit paradise, just like we were told at the very beginning. But for those whose scale is light, they've lost everything. They've lost their own souls, and their destination is the hellfire. There's no gray area here. It's a very clear, very stark choice between two eternal paths. As we get near the end, the surah hits us with what might be one of the most soul-shaking questions in the whole Quran. It's a question that makes you just stop and think about everything. It's essentially asking, after everything you've seen, the complexity of your own creation, the moral patterns of history, did you really honestly think that we created you for no reason, just as a game, and that you wouldn't have to come back to us and answer for your life? It's just a powerful, profound moment of reflection. But after that intense, challenging question, the chapter doesn't end with a threat. It ends on a note of complete humility. It gives us the perfect thing to say, a prayer, asking for the two things we all need most, forgiveness and mercy. And it asks this from the one who is the absolute best at showing mercy. It's just a beautiful, quiet, and reflective way to end this incredible journey through faith, reason, and our ultimate destiny.